I made an archery game, but you're the arrow. Typically in archery games, when you shoot your arrow, that's it, and wherever you're aiming, it'll land. But what if you were the arrow and could control where it went after you shot it? Well, to answer that question, I made this archery game, but you are the arrow. Stay to the end because I don't think I've ever seen another game quite like this. So I had this really cool idea for an aiming mechanic where you actually pull back the string. So I started by creating these two circles to pull back your shot. Then I made this triangle that'll represent the arrow. And whenever you're aiming, the arrow will aim where you are and the time will slow down to 50% to give you time to line up your shot. Then when you actually release your mouse and shoot, the arrow will be launched in the direction you're aiming. Anyways, next I wanted to make the aiming a little more satisfying, so I made this dotted line and I put a limit on how far you could pull back the bow. I also gave it this little color changing effect to show your power. Next, I set up the camera to follow the arrow and I changed the color changing from a green to a red, and I feel like it's a better representation of how hard you're actually shooting. Next, we need an actual bow and arrow. I opened up my drawing app and sketched this little arrow up in my style. It took a couple of tries to get it looking how I wanted it to, but once I got it down, I moved on to the bow. I didn't really know what bow style I wanted, but I liked this medieval style, so I drew it up, and I feel like it fits pretty well with the arrow I drew. Then, back in Unity, I changed the background to this blue gradient and I put the arrow in the game. I also got some math equations from ChatGPT to make the arrow be front heavy and fall downwards like a real arrow does. Now I can really see the game taking shape, but then I needed to implement my idea for the bow. I started by just attaching it to the arrow, then I made it so it only shows up when you draw the arrow back. And when you shoot it, the bow falls to the ground and has this little rotating effect, and I'm super satisfied with how it turned out. Then to add a little more feedback and actually make it feel like you're pulling the arrow back, I made it so it will stretch with the power of your pull. After that, we needed something to actually shoot, so I created this simple target of red and white circles. But before I actually made it do anything, I worked on the environment some more and I created this grass and dirt floor, and then I borrowed some trees from one of my other projects, and this will be the boundaries for our game. Then we needed something to actually happen when you shot the target, so I just made it teleport to a new spot within the boundaries of the map. Then I wanted it to feel better when you actually hit the target, so I made this satisfying explosion particle system using the colors of the target. Then I got this ding sound effect for when you hit it. And on top of that, I made the speed line particle system coming off of the arrow, and I got this swoosh sound effect for when you launch yourself. After that, I got this effect to darken the outside of the screen to emphasize the slow motion, and finally everything is feeling so good together. Now we already have a decent game loop and could probably end the game here, but I'm just getting started and have some way crazier ideas coming up. Before seeing how crazy this game gets, I wanted to let you know that I just got a Patreon with different tiers ranging from your name in the credits of my videos, me making your insane game ideas, and even access to all my source code and project files to most of my games on this channel. If you want to support me even more or just have the ability to edit my games, go check out the link in the description. Anyways, right now you could just launch yourself around the screen to get the targets, but there was no real reason to keep playing, and also no way to lose. So I decided to make this boy. The way I want the game loop to work is by having this boy launch you out of his bow, but after he shoots, he's going to try and chase you to get it back, and if he catches up to you, you'll lose. So I made this boy spray and I drew up the arms separately to make it seem like he's holding the bow and arrow. I actually made him hold on to you at the start of the game, then when you take your first shot, his arms will always face towards you. Then I needed to make him actually chase after you, so right now he'll move to be underneath you, but I also gave him the ability to jump on a random timer. This way you'll have to look out for him and try and position yourself to trick him to get the targets around him. Right now nothing happens when he catches up to you still, but it's super satisfying to see him chase after you, and it works so well with the mechanics of you launching yourself. Then I was kind of thinking that only having one thing to avoid would be a little too easy, so I made this bird. I started by just making him fly back and forth above the map, and then I made it fly up and down with some random forces, keeping it above the trees. I also added some clouds to show the boundaries of where the bird will fly, and now when the target spawns below the clouds, you'll have to look out for the boy chasing you, but then when it spawns above the clouds, you'll have to look out for the bird, and I feel like this creates a really good dynamic game loop. Then we needed some UI to be able to keep track of your score, so I got this target image and some text that just shows how many targets you've hit. After that, I was also feeling like the game needed a little bit more of a challenge, so I made it so you only have 3 shots, and when you hit a target, your shots get refilled. This way, you'll need to be much more strategic with your shots. And I also made it so when you get hit by the bird, all your shots go away, and then the only real way to lose was to get picked up by the boy. Speaking of a way to lose, the last thing we needed was a game over screen, so I created the simple game over screen that shows your final score and lets you restart, and when you get picked up by the boy, the game will end. So that's how I made an archery game, but you're the arrow. This game was so fun to make, and I love how goofy it turned out. If you enjoyed it, make sure to subscribe and go check out my Patreon. And if you want to see another goofy video like it, go check out how I made a survival game, but you're a balloon.